Okay, this is part one of our video, The Wall, looking at East German rifles from the Cold War. You've seen this one once before in a video we did about 2 years ago. This is a kit build East German MPI-KM rifle. This was the East German take on the Kalashnikov, the Soviet Kalashnikov AKM, which would be the stamped receiver. The original milled receiver version was called the MPI-K, and when they went to the stamp they called it the KM. In the broad strokes, it's just like any other AKM, but it has several interesting little things that East Germany did to it. Of course, you've got this hollow pebble grain plastic buttstock that's relatively soft, metal butt plate, metal sling swivel. The sling swivel is a little thinner because of this 1-inch thick sling versus 1 1/4 on most AKs. These either had a blued finish originally, or they had a paint over park finish applied during a factory refurbishment. Otherwise, the metal here, the dust cover, all that's pretty standard AKM. The pistol grip is unique. It's very slender with this bulge at the bottom. It's checkered on the edges but smooth on the sides. Kind of interesting the way they did that. The upper handguard's made out of the same soft plastic as the buttstock, but the lower handguard is made out of this wood. We were just discussing it. It's kind of a porous wood. I think maybe birch or beech. It's a little different. Doesn't really have much of a finish to it, kind of an oil finish, real smooth, nice. It has a very pronounced palm swell. And the reason they went to this was initially, when they developed the KM, they had a plastic handguard for it, matching these pieces, but it kept melting under rapid fire, so they went to this wood to be more heat resistant. And they kept on with it up until the 70s when they developed a Bakelite lower handguard that replaced it. But this is an earlier style. Standard barrel nut. It's hot, we just got through firing it. A lot of early AKM features. This was built from an Apex kit. It was one of the scrubbed kits, what can I do? But at least I was able to get one before they disappeared completely. It's on a Nodak receiver and has a chrome lined barrel in it. So it's very similar to the ones that Atlantic Firearms was offering about a year and a half ago. But we've taken that a couple of times and shot it. It's fun, it's reliable, it's very lightweight. It has the dependability of an AK. Takes standard AK magazines, takes a standard AK pattern bayonet. And it's just it's really the furniture that sets these apart, and the fact that you don't see many East German guns. I know in the first video someone commented when I said that no one had mass produced these, that Two Rivers has done some, and that's absolutely correct. But Two Rivers is really a custom shop. They do a lot of the interesting Tobruk and other Iraq type bringback guns. But when I said that, I was discussing Century Arms, IO, Arsenal. No one's really ever done these because there haven't been enough kits available. That's why I had this one personally done by a friend, and it really completes my AK collection. And this was the rifle that East Germany was using from the early 60s through the late 70s for the most part, and even a lot of them were still used in the 80s. Interestingly enough, when the wall fell in '89, about 150,000 East German AKs of all types were sent to Finland, and they're used today there as a reserve rifle. They're not primary issue, but they're kept in stockpiles for reserves. Others were sent to Yugoslavia and have surfaced out of Serbia and Croatia in recent years. In fact, this is where this kit came out of. You could tell by the cosmoline it had on it that it came out of the former Yugoslavia states. So these saw some combat over there too. And East Germany was actually a very major exporter of military-grade hardware to, com-block friendly nations during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. A lot of their rifles ended up in the Middle East and Africa. They were definitely giving China a run for their money when it came to exporting guns. And really the biggest thing about East German AKs is just the quality of the machining. The parts are just machined really well, made really well, fit really tight together. Even though this is a kit build, it still fits real well. And again, the furniture is a little strange, but it's distinctive. We kind of like it. And it will take standard AK furniture too, so you could put on a Romanian or a Hungarian wood stock and wood upper handguards. So you're not stuck with this if you just don't like it at all. But yeah, we'll move on. And next we have an East German MPI-AKS-74N. Okay, this is a clone rifle, a fake rifle. I wish I could afford one of those kits that recently came onto the market, but $800, no receiver, no barrel, I understand, and really for what they are, they're probably worth it to the people. But by the time you were to do a build right, you'd be in at $1,400 minimum, probably closer to $2,000 to do it really right with receiver markings. So I went the cheap route. I've been meaning to do this for a while and finally just did it. This is a Century M74 Sporter, which is Bulgarian parts on a Nodak receiver, and I put as many East German parts on it as I could find. We've got an East German zigzag laser cut muzzle brake. We've got an East German upper plastic handguard, an East German Bakelite lower handguard. This is the Bakelite I was talking about just a minute ago that they developed in the 70s. It was originally developed for the MPI-72 and then carried over to the 74. East German rear sight, which has the K markings and everything, which I thought was kind of a nice touch just to go ahead and do. East German bolt carrier group, which is nice and smooth. East German recoil assembly. East German mag, of course, in it. East German pistol grip, and a complete East German side folding stock. And I've got an East German sling on it, as you saw, the thin kind. So I've done what I could do. I would still like to grab an East German dust cover and an East German safety at some point. If they come along, I will do that. But at this point, it's about half well, I'd say third Bulgarian parts, third East German parts, and third U.S. parts for compliance. But yeah, like many other Warsaw Pact nations, East Germany did adopt the 5.45x39 caliber cartridge, the M74 cartridge, but they did it quite a bit later. Again, like a lot of nations did. Poland did not adopt a rifle in it until 1988, Romania until 86. East Germany started producing these around 82 and made them up through about 89 or 90. It's again their take on the AK-74, much like their MPi-KM. The base rifle is the same pattern as the Soviet or the Bulgarian, but then they kind of had their own twist on the furniture. They actually developed, the East Germans are the ones who actually developed this wire folding buttstock. This is the later style. The earlier style is what they call the crutch folder, and you saw those on the MPI M72, and then they get transferred over to the Mahdi's in Egypt. But again, yeah, they use the same pistol grip as on the standard 7.6239 version. The lower handguard's unique with these vertical ridges on it. The upper handguard's the same. The stamped receiver, all that's pretty much the same. The muzzle device is the same pattern as on early Soviets, but it's just very well machined and all of that. And this is the 74N because it has a side scope rail, which was original to it. And yeah, these, they didn't make a whole lot. 5.45 was never as popular globally, so they didn't export as many as the 7.6239 versions. But they did export some. I think the kits that are coming in the country now are also coming out of the former Yugoslavia, just like the MPi-KM kits were. And you'll see a few of these pop up in other random places, but they're just not as common. And it's up until now, there's been very few MPi-74 kits in the USA, so they're quite a collector's item. And one thing that's really hard to get are the original 5.45x39 German-made barrels. This one obviously has a US-made barrel in it. But everybody's got through shooting it for the first time. It ran very reliably, which is to be expected out of a Century AK. No keyholing issues, and it definitely gives that East German look. I will say, some people say these stocks are uncomfortable. And you know, against your cheek or chin in 7.62x39, I can see with the increased recoil. But 5.45 is such a soft recoiling cartridge, especially with this muzzle brake on. Even right up against the stock, neither of us here experienced any discomfort, even rapid firing it. So I would say this kind of stock definitely was made by Germany for the 5.45 type guns, and it works best on those guns. But you know, for what it is, the reason they liked it so much, and this one's really stiff. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'll be able to do it here on camera. I'm working it in, but the spring is it's brand new. But reason these are nice, they liked them, is they use the same standard rear trunnion as a normal AK. So you can just take the screw off and then unscrew the pistol grip and take this off and then put on a standard fixed buttstock. So it gave a little more versatility in swapping stocks around than the you know, the dedicated underfolders of the AKM series or the dedicated left side folders that you see coming out of Russia and Bulgaria. That was the East German approach at any rate. It's an okay stock. It doesn't quite fold up. You have this hinge block that sticks out, and it's still not as comfortable as the Russian or the Bulgarian style, but it is inexpensive to make, and that's why both Poland and Romania copied it. And originally Egypt bought some of these stocks off of East Germany and started producing their own version down there. So it was a very common stock. It was very popular because it didn't require them to tool up for a separate receiver style or rear trunnion style. But yeah, I've wanted to do one of these for a long time. Again, in the broad strokes, it's really no different from a Tantal or a Romanian or even a Bulgarian or Russian, but in the details it's nice, and it kind of wraps up my AK-74 collection. Well, that's what we have today for the first part of this little mini series here on the wall, East Germany. Part 2 we'll look at West Germany and its rifles.